matters important in this nation. It is an agenda for the launch of the 90 days of oil and mining media campaign. Let's hear from a great mind in this business, Dr. Elly Karuhanga. Then we'll come back here.
Good morning, fellow Ugandans. My name is Elly Karuhanga. I am the chairman of the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. I am also the chairman of the Private Sector Foundation of Uganda. This morning, I am privileged to say that our organization is launching a program of 90 days of sustained information to you, together with with NBS television. We will be talking about oil and gas development, and we will be also talking about the mining sector. We are going to call on various important people, both national and international people, to talk to you in order to prepare your minds so there's a mindset change about the opportunities that are about to be unleashed on our economy during a very interesting and turbulent time of Corona-19 virus. Today marks an interesting journey, the first step, so to speak, of this campaign. It is a 90 days campaign. It is a journey that is motivated by ongoing events. Let me assure you, fellow Ugandans, that Uganda is closer to the development phase of its oil sector on the one hand, and it's a complete new dawn and a complete transformation, as you will see over the period of 90 days. I have been associated with this industry from its inception when oil was discovered in 2006-07 as president of Hardman Petroleum, and later on as president of Thakkar Oil. We discovered the first oil together with the government. We have formed the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum in order to drum up your sentiments and your awareness about this industry. Since that time, we have been trained, and many Ugandans have been trained in understanding how to deal with this subject. Time has come now to let you know that the transformation I just talked about has now finally come. So together with our media campaign, we are going to make it so clear to you. I want to thank His Excellency the President, President Yoweri Museveni, and his entire government. I want to thank, in particular, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. I want to thank the people who work there, who have worked hard on the minerals and on oil and gas, especially in people who are going to address you this morning. I want to thank the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Kasande Robert, together with his team of Malinga and others in the ministry, and their ministers, who are going to explain to you shortly about what's about to happen. I want to thank a great son of Uganda, Mr. Ernest Rubondo, and all the colleagues that he worked with, starting from Kashambuzis and Mr. Kalisa, Kabagambe Kalisa, and all the great guys that I cannot finish mentioning for the job they have done. And I want to thank Mr. Rubondo in particular for steering and starting an organization called Petroleum Authority of Uganda. And he's going to be talking to us shortly about how we are going to regulate the oil and gas sector and how much he has done so far. I want to thank our daughter, Proscovia Nabbanja, who is now the leader of a company called UNOC, Uganda National Oil Company. She also came from the ministry. She is in charge of the first local content company, which is owned by Uganda 100%, which will be in charge of the refinery, the pipeline, and the oil discovery and the midstream, and the managing of Kabari Industrial Park. I want to thank Total, who are now spearheading and the majority leaders in the shareholding of this business. I want to thank Mr. Jessua, Pierre Jessua, the managing director of Total in Uganda. I want to thank the Association of Insurers who have come together. I want to thank members of the Chamber who have sponsored this program, especially Africa Gold Refinery, Stanbic Bank, Price Waterhouse, Ministry of Finance for partnering with Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. And also thank our service provider, Kampala Associated Advocates, who have been our legal advisors. Why have we launched a 90 days campaign? Every day. What is the objective behind it? And why now? As Shakespeare said, and if I remember the quote clearly, there is a tide in the affairs of men, which taken at the flood leads on to fortune. Omitted, all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and miseries. On such a sea, a full sea, are we now afloat. And we must take the current when it serves, or lose our ventures. These are the words of the great writer Shakespeare. Ugandans we cannot afford to lose the current, because if it is gone, it is gone. I would like you to be part of the current and be afloat with it. It is a period characterized at this moment by digital or virtual interactions at a global scale, by lockdowns due to COVID-19. It is a period when we have to be very careful. It is a period when the prices of oil and gas are down, when they are falling through the roof, at their rock bottom. It is a time when the investors are not interested in investing in oil and gas. It is a time when we are involved in an electioneering period in our country, when most of you, business people, Ugandans, young people, 80% of our population, are concentrating a lot on politics, when our leaders are vying for their political lives in the constituencies. It is a time when the big companies are saying, let's take our money to Uganda and start developing our oil and gas period. So we don't want you to be completely diverted by the politics. What is interesting is that this period, difficult as it is, 2020, it has not slowed down the negotiations with the oil companies and government. Total made statements when they moved to close the deal and purchase Tullow stake in Uganda in April. They said that they are committed to invest in oil in Uganda at this time, and we are about to face the final investment decision. The government and the oil companies have spent sleepless nights negotiating thousands of clauses within the agreements in order to get the ball rolling. There is fatigue associated with the delays to conclude these negotiations. But we are now seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. In fact, the tunnel is no longer there. We are now seeing the light, and we are through the end of the tunnel. So I want to thank Total, I want to thank Talo, I want to thank UNOC for spearheading this revolution in our country. It is time to get ready. What better way to get ready than being equipped with information? With our partners, we shall highlight the journey, the opportunities, the linkages, the challenges, the readiness, the development, both in oil and mining subsectors. We are committed, wholly, the private sector, the oil companies, the government, we are ready to let you know what is taking place now. And we are doing it right now in this studio, assisted by NBS television. You know, my colleagues whom I mentioned are just about to start addressing you. When we sat together with my colleagues, the board members of Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, assisted by private sector foundation, in conjunction with the government, we decided there is no better time to talk to you most sincerely than now. Let me end my statement as I open this launch of 90 days. Let me remind you about your country, Uganda, how beautiful Uganda is. You remember in 1907 when Winston Churchill visited Uganda? Many of us were not there. I don't think my mother was married or born. But in 1907, Churchill visited Africa, South Africa, Rhodesia, everywhere he went.
Uganda is on the verge of joining the oil and gas producing nations of the world. What you need to know now is that the insurance industry has increased their knowledge and understanding of this sector, studied the risks, and steadied her capacity. And yes, now we know that we have the strength to cover all the high-risk projects now underway in the oil and gas sector. We are the Insurance Consortium for Oil and Gas Uganda. With 16 companies and counting, we will use our expertise to offer every project access to oil and gas insurance plans. We are here at the start and will be here to the end.
Thank you very much, Dr. Elly Karuhanga, and we do have Proscovia very much on standby, but just before that, let me introduce here Sam Thakkar.
Hi, good morning everyone.
Let me introduce here Sam Thakkar, who is the General Secretary, of the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. Sam, it's certainly a pleasure having you on.
Good morning, and thank you very much for helping us launch today as well.
How big is this campaign and how important is it?
Well, as our chairman of the Board of Council has mentioned, it's one of the biggest things that we can be very proud of as Ugandans, because whilst we have the pandemic, whilst we have the struggles going on, we are very busy preparing for the oil to come out of the ground, and we have opportunities, abundance of opportunities for Ugandans and Ugandan businesses to participate. So it's a very good time for us to focus our attention on those things.
Okay. And you heard part of the comments of the chair there.
Yes.
What's your comment on the comment?
I would beg to refer from commenting on my chairman. Once he has said something, it is the way it is, and he has hit every nail on the head with regards to oil and gas.
Okay.
We are on the brink and always have been on the brink of where to go forward. We have had delays. We have had to deal with those delays. Chamber of Mines itself has been very important in managing between government and private sector, and we expect that this is going to reap great rewards for us in the future.
Okay, fantastic. Let's just bring in a name very familiar to yourself, the CEO. He did mention this name, and let's just bring in Proscovia Nabbanja. When the chair was saying, he said, our daughter, that means she is my sister. Proscovia Nabbanja, she is the CEO of Uganda National Oil Company here. Very welcome to you, Proscovia. Just let us in on what your mandate is.
When the chair was saying, see, our daughter, that means she is my sister. Proscovia Nabbanja, she is the CEO of Uganda National Oil Company. Very welcome to Proscovia. Just let us in on what your mandate is.
Well, we'll sort of come back here with some as we fix this technical glitch. Very brief one there. It's internet, it's technology. Technology is technology.
And,
Sam. But it's coming to you back, Sam. COVID-19 has changed so many things. There was a time when we were waiting for the final investment decision to be made.
Yes.
We were preparing for big ones there. Then COVID just came in and changed the entire complexion of the world.
Yes.
From you as an insider, how far back has it set us?
Right. I mean, I think, firstly, Samson, it would be very good if we can get Proscovia on. Proscovia is the new CEO for our Uganda National Oil Company, and she has some wonderful things that they're planning with regards to how to ensure the involvement of Ugandans in the oil sector here. With regards to the pandemic and the FID took its time, it had its issues. Those are things that we are aware of. We have tried to assist as much on the process to push it forward, but they're big decisions which had to be made for the future of our nation. And those decisions being made, we are now in a position to move forward, but with the pandemic and the uncertainty of the pandemic globally, we are also in the same boat, but we know that it is going to happen irrespective of the pandemic. It is just maybe a little bit more time that is required to put us in a position to be able to drive this forward ourselves. So it gives us a very good opportunity with the pandemic to get more involved and talk to the businesses here through programs like this to make them understand that whilst you're looking at your businesses having suffered at the moment, give it some thought and do some research in the oil and gas sector and the mining sector and be prepared because it's coming, and that is where I believe we have a lot of potential for the economy to bounce back up after this.
Well, these moments are made for persons like Proscovia Nabbanja, and Proscovia, over to you. You are the new person. You do have a new mandate, and let's hear from you, Proscovia.
Thank you very much, and good morning. UNOC has quite a broad mandate, and in a way, we manage the commercial aspects of the oil and gas sector and ensure that the resources are exploited in a sustainable manner and also develop skills for the oil and gas sector. Our mandate is quite broad. We have about 8 projects, end-to-end, 2 in the upstream, One is to manage the 15% state participation in the Tilenga and Kingfisher development. And our partners there are CNOOC, Total, and Tullow. And then we have another mandate to go out and look for new exploration ventures in support of our mandate to replace the reserves for the country. In the midstream, we have two big projects there, the refinery and the East African crude oil pipeline. In the refinery, we pick 40% of the project, while in the East African crude oil pipeline, we pick 15%. Besides that, we also have other projects in the downstream. We have two storage terminals, the Kampala storage terminal and the Jinja storage terminal. The Jinja storage terminal is already...
Volume up.
Well, technology is what it is. We have lost momentarily, at least Proscovia and our technical team is making sure that we catch her. The thing about these internet
of petroleum
things,
products
you don't
in
know
one
whether
cargo.
it is here
And,
or there or
we-
in between.
Correct. And Samson, the good thing is that even with the technology the way it is, NBS is fighting through to get the
we
news to
also
the
have
people.
the
And that's
terminal,
very important.
the
So
Kampala
that's, we will
storage
get there,
terminal,
I'm
Okay.
sure.
which is intended to be bigger
Let's go back to
than
Proscovia.
Jinja storage terminal. I'm getting quite some feedback. The Kampala storage terminal is intended to be bigger than the Jinja storage terminal. And our intent is to receive products that will be coming from the refinery, but also transfer those products to the local markets and the forward markets within the region. Now, that being said, of course, it's very critical to unlock all these projects by unlocking the upstream, most importantly, and the East African crude oil pipeline project to enable the refinery to receive the crude. So it's quite a big mandate that we hold. And today, a lot of conversation is going around finalizing the commercial agreements, especially for the upstream and the East African crude oil pipeline. And then we will move into the engineering, procurement, and construction. So UNOC's mandate, when we look at the scope of the projects, we sit in a portfolio of about 845 million US dollars across the different projects. And the profitability of the projects is very clear. We are having an internal rate of return for each of those projects that is in excess of 15%, which gives us all that business imperative for Uganda to participate in the projects. So in a nutshell, that's who we are as UNOC, and I'm excited that we are having a conversation around the table today to discuss the opportunities in the sector, the progresses that we're seeing, and how we can make Ugandans participate in the sector for the next 90 days.
Thank you very much, Proscovia. Sam, you've been listening to those.
Yes.
Do you want to ask a question, or are you entirely satisfied?
No, I don't want to put Proscovia under any pressure. She has mentioned everything
you,
that needs to be
moderator.
mentioned, that we have talked about even with her as chamber. And Proscovia, thank you very much for your time. And I know that we have got huge projects lined up for UNOC. And the one thing that UNOC stands for is for Ugandan involvement. When we are talking about oil exploration, we are very young, but this will give Ugandans a chance to be directly involved. So thank you very much for that, Proscovia. I think, Samson, if we can move on to speak to now one of the joint venture partners, Mr. Pierre, Jessua, who is the country manager for Total. And Total, as you know, have looked at the acquisition of Tullow. Tullow is now going to play a very minimal role. Total is the lion, if you want, of oil and gas, and their presence in Uganda should be something of a great amount of excitement for us. Pierre, I welcome you on board, and please share with us, with the audience here and with NBS, with regards to where we are, what's the status of the oil and gas now between the joint venture partners and us moving forward for First Oil. I'm sure that it's partly to do with Pierre loving coffee. So he may have gone off for his coffee. So Pierre, if you're there, grab your coffee quickly. And Samson, I'm not sure if your audience is aware that we are talking to each individual person, not in the studios, not from here, but they are all signed in and they're talking to us through their connections at home or their offices.
I did hear a bit of Pierre somewhere in
the sound
good.
to understand.
Monsieur Pierre. Okay.
Well, the world changed.
Yes.
And it's the new world. We're going to have to learn to cope with it.
Yes.
Glitches and all.
NBS, we cannot hear, so we cannot
as COVID stays with us for as long as it does.
Yes.
That's Monsieur Pierre.
Yeah. And Monsieur Pierre is, I think we just hear him in the background on his Zoom. Pierre, are you there? The joys of the new normal.
NBS, your link is muted.
Is that the insurance industry has increased their knowledge and understanding of this sector, studied the risks, and steadied her capacity. And yes, now we know that we have the strength to cover all the high-risk projects now underway in the oil and gas sector. We are the Insurance Consortium for Oil and Gas Uganda. With 16 companies and counting, we will use our expertise to offer every project access to oil and gas insurance plans. We are here at the start and will be here to the end.
As mentioned by the CEO of UNOC, there's a lot of activity going on all fronts, as far as Total is concerned, involved in the upstream project, Tilenga and Kingfisher, and on the midstream project, ECOP. And of course, we are supporting the refinery as well, not yet participating to the refinery. There's a lot of activities going on. As mentioned by the CEO of UNOC, there are commercial discussions ongoing, which are progressing very correctly, although the situation of the COVID-19 didn't help a lot, I would say, the physical interaction. Thanks to the technology and the virtual meetings, we were able to work a lot since April, since I would say the transaction with Tullow, where Total is getting the 33.3% of participation. So first, I would like to thank so much all the government agencies, our regulator, PAU, the Ministry of Energy, our partners, CIDUC and UNOC to make the things happening. It's been a long journey, and I see and I hear the frustration of the delays on the FID. Nobody is winning the delay. There are several obstacles for such a huge, I would say, project. But I can tell you that Total is more than committed. Our CEO has expressed the willingness to take the FID this year, and everybody is mobilized and on board to make it happen. We have relaunched call for tenders on various activities, and as mentioned, the discussions with the authorities are progressing to find agreement as soon as possible on the key documents and contracts like the host-government agreement for the midstream, and then the documents like the TTA, the executive transport and tariff agreement, and the shareholder agreement. So yes, it's a long journey, but I just want to ensure that everybody is on board and willing to make it happen.
That was Pierre there, and thank you so much, Pierre. Merci beaucoup, Pierre. They all speak French there. I'm not so sure my French is very useful, but at least I do try.
Yeah.
We will have someone else, Ernest Rubondo from Amber House. That's where he's going to be joining us from. Sam, who is Ernest in this, and how important is he in this picture?
Right. I mean, Sam, you're quite right. Ernest, unfortunately, can't join us. I believe it's going to be Alex that will come on board, Nyombi for Ernest. But Ernest Ernest Rubondo, Mr. Rubondo has been the Executive Director for the Petroleum Authority Uganda, which was formulated particularly to manage and regulate our oil and gas sector. And the main thing right now is that having moved from Total, who have come in and who have done the exploration and are the ones that are going to help us develop and get the oil out, it is very important that we have local content within the oil and gas sector. And that is a mandate which has been strictly applied to all of the joint venture partners. And for this, Samson, did you know we have a national supplier database where every business over here that wants to participate in the oil and gas can come into place? And that's where Ernest Rubondo and his team at PAU, they are working diligently to get that done. And I think Alex Nyombi would be the one to answer those questions for us.
Do you want to call him in?
Why not? Let's see if Alex is there. Mr. Nyombi, I hope you're ready with some of the questions on local content. What are we doing for local content, and how many companies now do you have? Because you must have thousands of them registered already on the National Supplier Database.
From the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, we are glad to be here. We thank the Chamber of Mines and Petroleum for this forum, where we get to discuss the important issues to do with extractives in this country. We do appreciate that. Like has been guided, to start with our mandate briefly, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda was established by the Petroleum Exploration, Development and Production Act of 2013, with a mandate to monitor and regulate exploration, development and production of petroleum in Uganda. And similarly, under the Petroleum Refining, Conversion, Transmission and Midstream Storage of 2013, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda is mandated to monitor and regulate what is termed as the midstream operations. The midstream operations include refining of petroleum in the country, conversion, for example, in the case of petrochemical industries, pipeline transmission, case in point, for example, the East African crude oil pipeline, midstream storage of crude oil and natural gas, and of course the PAU supports the negotiation of
Uganda is on the verge of joining the oil and gas producing nations of the world. What you need to know now is that the insurance industry has increased their knowledge and understanding of this sector, studied the risks, and steadied her capacity. And yes, now we know that we have the strength to cover all the high-risk projects on the verge of joining the oil and gas producing nations of the world. What you need to know now is that the insurance industry has increased their knowledge and understanding of this sector, studied the risks.
Where over 2,000 people have now been registered, oil companies now use this platform to source for talent, employment, as well as service providers. Some of the service providers that intend to come and do business in Uganda, they are based in foreign capitals. Because of that, rather than coming here and start looking around for people to work for them, we have this platform to register the talent, which can be sourced and availed to the different service providers that intend to do work in Uganda. Now, the other thing is that there has been some impediments by way of saying that the national companies, the Ugandan entities, are not ready to supply. They do not meet the standards, or they do not have the required capital. In that case, there has been a policy passed by government in 2018, and one of the things that the policy puts in place is the establishment of a national content fund. This fund is going to support the capitalization of Ugandan entities that intend to supply oil and gas sector. The formation of this fund is ongoing now, and modalities are being discussed and finalized on how it's going to be populated with the required funds. There is an effort to establish the Industry Enhancement Center, which is going to be a center for developing capacity of national suppliers, especially with regard to the standards required by way of health and safety, and then operations of the international requirements for the oil and gas sector. Now, if the authority has undertaken several efforts to interface with the intending suppliers. First, to inform them of what is required of them, but two, also to foretell them on the contracts that are expected to come and in which period of time. This helps the national companies to prepare for what is expected, so that when the time for bidding comes, they have the required capacity and preparation. On that side, we have had several conferences where we interface with the intending suppliers, and we bring the oil companies as well to interface with the suppliers, so that there is direct communication on the requirements. These conferences, we have them in Kampala as well as in the several regions that oil and gas activities are taking place. I thought I would stop there for now. Moderator, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alex. Maybe if you will briefly speak to local content in terms of, do we have enough skills and training of those in readiness for what we're talking about? Very briefly, in about 35 seconds, if not less. Alex? Alex, did you take that question? I was asking if you may, in about 30 seconds, talk about how, in terms of local content, do we have enough skills or training of those in readiness? Maybe Alex has taken a very early lunch.
Maybe after that, you may have missed breakfast for this show. That's
absolutely, absolutely. And you're doing a very good job of this, Sam. I think I'm going to entice you to come back to TV. You are built for it. But in terms of skilling, yes. I've seen the opening of one of the skilling centers, I think.
Okay, thank you, moderator. I think I've been requested to talk about the skills. The skills can be looked at twofold. One, we have the skills of the individuals who intend to take up employment in oil and gas. Then we have the the know-how and the preparedness of the companies that intend to take up contracts or joint venture. Now, with regard to the skilling, we have partnered with the private sector as well as the oil and gas companies to skill the different individuals that intend to take up employment. Government has established a workforce skills development strategy and plan. This highlights the existing capacity, the needs of the sector, and the gaps that need to be addressed. This helps to focus the efforts on where skilling is required. And as such, one of the areas that has been identified is skilling at technician level, welders and electricians and such disciplines. It may sound as if welding and being an electrician is something easy, but there is required certification, which is international, for an individual to qualify to work in the oil and gas sector. And then the skills also required are very specific. To this end, over 500 technicians have been trained and have acquired international certification. These will be relevant in the upcoming development and construction phases of the industry. The sector, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and Sports, is also promoting international accreditation and certification of the vocational institutes. Some of these institutions, they include Uganda Petroleum Institute, Chigumba, Buhimba Technical Institute, and then Chema Technical Institute.
Well, thanks there. I've had the figure
to bring together the different skills development providers in the industry. The different, private and public training institutions. This forum is in existence, and it has helped in having a clear voice and to be able to have a direction on bridging the gaps in skills that have been identified by the plan that I talked about up there. That notwithstanding, there is also training, specialized training of some members of the public at master's level and such level.
Well, we'll assume that that is it.
Issues.
I've had the figure.
I think I should stop there for now. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Alex. And we are back here. Sam, I had a figure of 500. But looking at what we're doing this.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to.
It's not, but what's happening is that at the moment we are finding a lot of.
Do we have, just a second, Sam, do we have somebody in there? Well, I think somebody teased in and teased out. Yeah, you're saying, Sam, that so it might seem a small figure, but
you see the capacity of what we need right now, 500 is actually quite substantial, and we are going to get, hopefully, for example, with Chamber of Mines and Petroleum itself, within the Chamber we have managed to secure a fund for skills development through the PSFU, and that is going to train around 300-400 people itself.
okay.
So there is a lot of scope. There is going to be an acceleration of the involvement in there. But we're starting, don't forget, with the basics first. And that's why it seems lower.
Okay. I think we've got somebody in there. Let's have them.
In Kigezi region, with the mining of iron ore. And then from there, we went to Clembe Mines, which is one of the key flagship projects of the ministry, and government is putting in place a mechanism to get an investor to develop the mine. Government has done a lot. In the 2002 to 2018, government has been taking a lot of sector development reforms. There was an airborne geophysical survey which was conducted covering 80% of the country. And through these surveys, a number of mineral resources have been identified. We have over 27 varieties of minerals that have been mapped through this campaign, and as such, the sector provided the basic geological information to investors, which have been evaluated in some details. We have iron ore. Originally, the country knew of about 30 million tons of iron ore. The sector has undertaken evaluation of iron ore, and we have established there's over 500 million tons of iron ore in the country, and this is inferred to over 1 billion tons. What is required now is for us to undertake feasibility study and do some further drilling to quantify further this reserve, because we know in the manufacture of steel, you will need some other material like coal, which is not available in country, and therefore we need to undertake feasibility study to establish whether it's feasible to put up a smelting plant, a refinery for iron ore. We can also use gas from Tanzania. So this is a work which needs to be undertaken. We have also done work in gold. There's been a lot of interest in gold, as we have had. Gold exists in almost all parts of geological terrain of the country. It is found in all formation in the country, but there have been some investment in the sector that has even resulted into attraction of a lot of informal sector. We have established gold in Tira, where there are over 500 ounces of gold established. In Kamalenge, where we are currently having a lot of mining activities taking place. This was first picked by airborne geophysical survey that was undertaken, and the company took that up after the government provided basic geological information, and has established about 5 million ounces of gold. And in other parts of the country, we have Bushenyi, we have Buwejo, we have a lot of other deposits. In Alupe is one of the green field where an investor started from scratch, and now we have a mine in development, and soon we are also going to launch up this mine. There's also been work which has been undertaken for vermiculite. Originally, the country knew about 5 million tons of vermiculite, but right now, as I talk, we have over 50 million tons of vermiculite, a mineral which is used for industrial applications and for improving the soil fertility. This is found in Manafa, in Namakara, and we can all witness that there's been a number of investments in the limestone marble industry because of the promotion that has been ongoing. We currently have over 5 factories which are manufacturing limestone, and also in dimension stone, the granites we are using the granites from Uganda to produce the tiles in country. One of the companies which is undertaking this is Goodwill, and more are coming on board. As a sector, we have been undertaking exploration, because when we talk of the mineral sector, there are 3 key things that one has to look at to promote investment. You are looking at the availability of geological information, the geological data. You are looking at the resource itself, and then we are looking at a conducive environment for investment in the sector. The sector has been undertaking exploration to establish more reserves so that it can promote further investment from the investor. We have identified some key mineral targets for follow-up, and these include uranium, where exploration is currently taking place in in Buejo, and then in Zimbabwe. This is one mineral that we think that can change the economy if found in good commercial quantities. There is also rare earth, where we estimated from our surveys over 3 billion tons of the material, which is commonly used, highly used in electronics. And there's one company which has taken this up and has established about 300 million tons of the rare earth mineral. And this mineral is currently dominated by China, which is the one which is really the first country in the production of rare earth. But we believe that Uganda may be the second country to have a rare earth plant in Africa. So that notwithstanding with those key activities, we note that there are some key challenges that need to be addressed for the sector to contribute positively to the economy. Of course, one of the key things is to unlock the potential and undertake detailed exploration covering the entire country, because from the available data that we have, this is basically based on samples, random sampling that has been taken, and surveys which have been limited in nature. So we plan to undertake a comprehensive survey following up the airborne geophysical survey that was taken, that is airborne, but we need to have a ground follow-up to understand the quantities and the qualities of the minerals at the different locations. So we intend to conduct a national geochemical survey and geological follow-up of key mineral targets, of which has already been identified by airborne. When this one is done, then government can be in a position to negotiate, because we will know how much the country owns, how much the country have as a mineral resource. So other than that, there's also another challenge, which is the informal sector of, especially in gold, the artisanal miners. We plan to register all the miners, undertake biometric registration, so that government know where these miners are located, and provide extension services to the miners and regulate, because as it stands now, a lot of revenue is being leaked through the informal sector, and there is urgent need to regulate this sector. A lot has already been done. We have mapped some areas where they are located, but the challenge has always been the areas where the miners should be located. So we are planning to demarcate some areas where the miners, the artisanal miners, should be located and then regulated within their jurisdiction, because this mining activity, the artisanal mining, has resulted into a lot of other factors as environmental degradation. So when the miners are put in one specific area, we will be in a position to regulate even the environmental impacts from this mining activity. And to promote the sector further, we plan to put up buying centers for mineral commodities, because that is the only way government can regulate the sector, by having some buying facilities where these minerals can be, where the minerals can be sold, like a case in Tanzania where all minerals are sold. We also note that there is limited value addition. The issue of value addition is key, and there is need to put up key infrastructure to promote value addition after we have established enough results. So we are promoting value addition in the sector to promote, to put up key infrastructure that can promote mineral value addition, so that the country can benefit from its mineral resources. In that respect, we are undertaking a major regulatory reform. Currently, we are reviewing the Mining Act to accommodate some of the key areas that had not been addressed by the existing mining law. We note that there is a gap in the current mining law because a number of things have come up. There's been a lot of emerging issues, such as the need to have development minerals such as clay, sand, granites regulated. So when we regulate this sector, we expect that the contribution of the sector will increase from its current contribution of about 0.6 to over 30% like it has done in the past. And other key aspect is to promote local content and government participation in the sector. Local content is one of the areas that has been missing in the mineral sector, and we intend to have this promoted where, like the case of oil and gas, where Ugandans can participate equally in the sector. It has been limited to acquisition of a location license, which still requires that the Ugandans should partner with some foreign investor, or a Ugandan can fully own a location license. But we want to have this participation increase in the mineral sector at a different level, looking at the whole supply chain of minerals from mining to export. And we're also putting in place a mineral certification system, a system that will enable us to track the flow of mineral from the mine site when the mineral is mined through the supply chain and until the point of exit. This is going to be undertaken on what we call the 3T minerals as a requirement for international treaty, that the 3Ts and the gold has to be certified for us to fast track and understand how much we are having from the country and what is going out and what are they taking it out for. So we are developing a system to track the flow of minerals from Uganda and the flow of minerals into the country, so that we can assess the revenue that can be got from those minerals. It will also enable us to understand how much the country is actually producing. But the country has a lot of potential of minerals, which needs to be fully evaluated to the point of drilling, where we will establish the quantities. That is the way forward to unlock the potential of the mineral sector, is through detailed exploration, and we put up a conducive environment.
Did we lose Alex?
Some companies which have done serious work, although in the new bill we intend to streamline and eliminate speculation, we note that there are companies which have done some good work, and these include a company called SIPA, which is doing good work in Kitgum. This is a deposit which was coming from a green, you can call it a green field, because it was picked by airborne, and they are followed up, and a lot of, they are getting good results. Undertook gold exploration and is currently setting up a mining plant, and has established about 12 million tons of gold at Aluke. We have Consolidated Africa, which is still in Kitgum. This is also a green field, which was not known, and is undertaking development of graphite in Kitgum. And we have others. There are others like Renzori Rare Earth, which I've already talked about, undertaking the development for rare earth in Uganda, and we believe that with a very conducive environment, we are going to have more mining projects coming on board. That is why we are undertaking some legal and regulatory reforms so that government can earn from its mineral resources. We promote the development and then regulate the use of the mineral resources. I hand you over back to you, regulator. Moderator.
Thank you very much. Alex Alaba is the acting director, Geological Survey within the Ministry of Minerals and Energy Development. Your Chamber of Mines and Petroleum will cross from petroleum straight into mines.
Yes, and if things go well, we are also expecting that we will look at all forms of energy, including renewable energy, coming under us, because that's our scope of what we want to achieve as a chamber, to include all possible aspects of what's going to happen. My question to Agnes would have been, when can we see her as director as opposed to acting director? Because that's the one thing that we've always emphasized, that in DGSM, the Department of Geological Surveys and Mines, there must be a head who has been put in place by government to handle the mining sector, which can earn us trillions of shillings from there.
Well, I'm sure that Alex will say that question is not for me to answer. It is for somebody else.
Yes.
But I don't know that the boss of Alex is certainly watching. And,
I hope so.
Yours is not a question. I think
Yes.
it's a request.
Correct.
Very
Yes.
subtle.
That is,
knowing some as I do. Some, away from that, I think it's almost about that time when we start to think the launch proper, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. So we are, well,
But before that, I think we haven't heard from Mr. Musoke, have we?
We haven't heard from Mr. Musoke. We haven't heard from Mr. Malinga still as well, from the Directorate of the Petroleum.
So let me put that to you. Where do we go first? Do we go to Mr. Malinga or Mr. Musoke?
That would put me in a very awkward position. Mr. Malinga is very important in his right with regards to the Directorate, but at the same time, Mr. Musoke is the sponsor for the show as well and for part of what we're doing.
Okay, then
so
I'll make the
you're going to,
decision.
exactly, you're going to put me in a very difficult
It's
position.
about money. Let's go with the sponsor. So you call Mr. Musoke.
Yeah, so Mr. Ronnie Musoke, I hope you're able to connect with us, and I hope that you can hear us. Please, you're welcome, and we would like to hear a few words from you with regards to the insurance side, how the insurance committee has been set up to look at oil and gas and the prospects that you see yourself.
Good morning, colleagues. I hope you can all hear me. It's a pity we can't get through to NBS, but I'm hoping that everybody else on the panel can hear me. My name is Ronald Musoke, and I represent the Uganda Insurance Association, where I serve as the vice chairman. Now, I'd like to thank NBS for, first of all, hosting this forum. It's always good that we discuss oil and gas and minerals. This is an area that definitely excites all of us. I would also like to thank the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum for making sure that year on year, the flagship conference that has always taken place takes place. I'm saying this because we all know that we are currently faced with this pandemic, the coronavirus, but the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum has still made every effort to make sure that this conference takes place. And from where we sit as the insurance fraternity, we have always partnered with the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, and as we speak now, this is 6 years to date. And also what I'm supposed to be talking about is the benefit of partnerships, and I think we can straight away start with that one, whereby we've been working very closely with the UCMP for the last over 6 years. And why this is good, we feel this is good, is because it is not always advantageous to go at everything alone. But normally when you work together with other people or other entities, then you get more mileage. Now, as an insurance sector, we are definitely also closely monitoring the activities on the oil and gas front. And we've been participating in the oil and gas field right from the point of exploration. At the time of exploration, you will find that probably the risks to be insured were not as complex as they are today, being that at the time even the oil companies were approaching insurance companies individually. However, having completed the exploration stage, and now we're looking at development and production, we will all appreciate that the risks become even more complex, that it's no longer viable for any entity to go at it alone. And it is from that background that we as an insurance sector felt it necessary that for us to be able to add value to the oil and gas, to participate in the oil and gas area, that we come together collectively as insurance players and see how best we can form what we've called a consortium, and from which now we can be able to engage all the relevant stakeholders and see how best we can also be considered as a player in this field. Now, the way we've worked around this consortium is we've got 20 non-life insurance companies. And what we've done is we've pooled all our resources. This is in terms of financial and technical. And when we do that, we've now created what we call a consortium, which now becomes one, in a way you could call it one entity. And this one entity is actually managed by Uganda Reinsurance Company, the company which I work for. And the understanding is that all the oil and gas risks, actually not all of them, but the major ones being the construction phase, the public liability, and marine, because these are going to be huge risks in terms of value and also in terms of complexity. It was felt that those three will be transacted through the consortium, and we'll all appreciate that these risks definitely require insurance. So currently there are 16 members to this consortium, but again, it is open to even the other 4 who haven't yet come on board. And actually, the time we started, we were only 12. And over the years, like 2 years, 4 members have also come on board. And right now, we're 16. But the other 4 hopefully will also be able to join us as we go along. And especially now that there's an indication that FID is around the corner. Why we believe this is the way to go is we'll all appreciate that these are complex risks that one insurance company cannot go about them alone. And they'll also require huge financial capacity that one insurance company will not be able to provide that. Yet when all the insurance companies come together, create this consortium, they'll be able to generate capacity, which now they'll be able to present to the stakeholders, which will also give them comfort that indeed the sector has got some capacity. And the capacity we're talking about is not only from us as the local players, but we've got partners. So right now we're talking about over $500 million US in terms of capacity. These oil and gas risks are in the region of, we're talking billions. So we are mindful that if we do not come together as partners, then we will probably lose the opportunity of being able to participate. I've talked about the financial capacity. No one insurance company can be able to write these risks on their own. So the best thing to do is to come together as partners and be able to present our capacity as one. And this consortium we're talking about has already been launched. It was launched last year in April during the Oil and Gas Convention in Munyonyo. So as we speak now, it is actually officially in place. What also I should say is that the consortium is that we are supervised by the Insurance Regulatory Authority. So this consortium has been fully endorsed by the regulator who oversees our activities as a sector. We are also working very closely with the Petroleum Authority of Uganda to make sure that that they are comfortable with the way we intend to write this business. I think it has also been mentioned that the contractor on these 2 projects is not one single contractor, but they're also a consortium. So I think that further emphasizes the need for working together as collectively as opposed to going at every opportunity alone. So we as the insurance fraternity, we must say that we are ready. We've put in place all the mechanisms required. And being that these risks are very complex, the other thing I must say is that we are also engaging the services of our experts who are outside the country. And there's one consultant that we've been engaging with, and that is Total Risk Solutions. They've been working hand in hand with us over the years, and they'll make sure that everything is done properly to the expectations of the stakeholders that are involved in this oil and gas field. I wish to stop here for now. Thank you very much for listening.
There, he. will be coming next, but that was Ronnie Musoke, sponsors there.
Yes.
How important are they in this?
Sponsors are very important because it also means that we are able to do our job and get the news of the oil and gas sector and the mining sector out. Without, as you said, money, without the funding, we aren't able to do our jobs to make sure that every Ugandan is aware of what's happening in the sector. So again, thank you very much, Mr. Musoke, for your comments. And also on our behalf, the Insurance Association has done a tremendous job of creating a consortium to handle the requirements for insurance in this sector. It is so big, there is not a single insurance company by themselves that can handle the exposure. So they've done a tremendous job to be prepared for the oil and gas sector.
Okay, Sam, another title you don't like here, acting director. You don't like those. There is an acting director, and in charge of the Directorate of Petroleum, he is Mr. Honey, Malinga, and he will be doing the launch for us.
I was hoping he would, but it seems that Mr. Malinga has not been. We have not been able to reach him. We're trying to get hold of him, and we had planned for him to do the launch in its entirety. But I think, Sam, this is going to now end up on your shoulders and my shoulders to launch the 90 days. Otherwise,
that's a huge. Where I come from, people who launch these things should have a certain size of paycheck. I'm not so sure I have maybe. But what's the big takeaway from all of this?
From all of this, you see, the first day we wanted to make sure that there is an understanding of where we are right now in the oil and gas. We have had so many things to come to handle and to overcome with regards to where we want. The one big thing for us is that Uganda is very new to oil and gas, and we did not want to expose ourselves, so to speak, so that the foreign investments that come in then end up taking the larger shares of the profits of the oil. And we have worked tirelessly, and the government has been adamant that this has to happen, where local content, the upskilling of local welders, mechanics, drivers, there is job opportunities that are made available in this sector for Ugandans first, before anything is taken out. And we have stuck by that rule for these many years, and we are going to stick by that rule going forward. So these are opportunities, true opportunities for us.
Okay, very interesting there. And of course, that brings us to the very end of this. Time is always never on our side.
Yes.
And but we'd like to ask and thank the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, where Sam Thakkar is a General Secretary, and thank them for this. And I think you want to pronounce the launch there?
I would love to say, ladies and gentlemen, all of you watching, this is the launch. We are doing 90 days, so you will see programs coming with the support and, of course, on our side, the appreciation of NBS. Please watch. You are going to learn a lot more about oil and gas and how to participate in our oil and gas and minerals. So thank you all very much, and I think that would end the launch.
Okay, but I'd just like the viewers to know that to be able to moderate this one, two things were considered. First, one, that you're bald-headed, and two, that you have a side band. I managed to have a bald head and a side band, and so it was Sam Thakkar, and that's how they selected these. The third one was not a must, but was required, that you are also gray-haired in the side band. And if you can see, I do have some gray hair in my side band. On behalf of the control team here, and everybody in charge of this, and all those who put this together, it's certainly been a pleasure. I am more excited at the moment about the future of this nation than I am about its past. Have a very good afternoon.
Thank you.
Hello?